Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Good evening and welcome to the Anaheim Planning Commission of April 7th, 2025. My name is Christopher Walker, Chair of the Anaheim Planning Commission. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast on all our channels, including on the web and Anaheim TV Channel 3. The first order of business is to salute the flag. Commissioner Kelly will lead us in the flag salute. Next, I will ask the Planning Commission Secretary to take a verbal roll call vote of all the Planning Commissioners.
Chair Walker,
Present.
Vice Chair Tran Martin,
Here.
Commissioner Lieberman,
Here.
Commissioner Perez,
Here.
Commissioner Castro,
Here.
Commissioner Abdul Rahman,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would please all silence your electronic communication devices so they don't disrupt the proceedings, we would appreciate that. The doors at the back of the room are automatic. They open when you get close to them and they don't close until you walk down the hall. Please move away from the automatic doors and allow them to close. Today we have 2 public hearing items on our agenda. I will ask members of the public who wish to speak on either of these items to please complete a yellow speaker card and give it to staff if you do not already do, or if you have not already done so. The cards can be found at the entrance table at the back. Please keep your remarks as brief as you can. We are influenced more by the content than the length of your presentation. First, we provide an opportunity for any member of the public to speak on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Is there anyone that would like to speak on any items? See no one, we'll move on to the public hearings. Prior to the beginning of public hearing, I will ask that planning commissioners for any disclosures they wish to make regarding the public hearing items on today's agenda. Seeing none, please note that actions taken by the Planning Commission tonight for item 1 will be final unless in 10 calendar days an appeal is filed with the city clerk. The appeal deadline is Thursday, April 17th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Appeal forms and information are available on the city clerk's webpage. Item number 2 is a request for the Planning Commission to recommend City Council approval for consideration at a future City Council meeting. I will now begin the public hearing and ask staff to present for item number 1. Hello, Ivan.
Hello. It's been a while, but I hope everyone's doing well. Good evening, Chair Walker, members of the Planning Commission. This item before you tonight is a request for a conditional use permit to construct a new 1,266 square foot restaurant with a single drive-through lane and a tentative parcel map to subdivide the property at 125 East Ball Road into 3 parcels. The approximately 1 acre site is located at the northwest corner of Ball Road and Technology Circle, just east of Anaheim Boulevard. The project site has a general plan land use designation of general commercial and is zoned industrial. It is also in the South Anaheim Boulevard Corridor Overlay Zone. Surrounding land uses include commercial uses to the north and west, commercial and industrial uses to the south, across Ball Road, and to the east. The proposed drive-through restaurant, identified as Starbucks, would be a single-story, 1,266 square foot building located adjacent to Ball Road. The drive-through lane wraps around the building from east to west with queuing for up to 12 vehicles. It features a pre-menu board, order point, pickup window, and directional signage. The Starbucks would operate exclusively through the drive-through and a walk-up window. No indoor or outdoor seating is proposed. Enhanced landscaping will be installed to meet screening and code requirements. Access would be provided via 2 driveways on Technology Circle, with a 3rd emergency access point to the west through a gated connection to the adjacent Walmart property. This gate will remain closed during normal operations. The site would include 10 on-site parking spaces, internal drive aisles, and perimeter landscaping, along with the required street frontage improvements. The photo shows the site from the intersection of Ball Road and Technology Circle, looking northwest. The site was previously developed with a 10,530 square foot commercial building, which was recently demolished. The proposed building features a contemporary architectural style with offset building planes to reduce visual massing. Exterior finishes include stucco, wood panel siding, and a dark aluminum storefront with large windows. Canopies will be provided above both the walk-up window and the drive-through pickup area. The proposed subdivision would create 3 parcels with reciprocal access, shared parking, and a maintenance covenant, as shown on the tentative parcel map on the screen. The proposed drive-through restaurant is consistent with the general plan and introduces a new commercial use on a previously developed but now vacant site. It represents a reinvestment in the property and the surrounding area. The project complies with all applicable development standards, including building setbacks and parking. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer any of the questions from the commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Lieberman?
I swear I'm having deja vu. Didn't we approve a Starbucks on this site? I'm assuming that it's come back because of the tentative parcel map. There was a hotel there before, and that's gone.
There was a previous project approved by the commission, and I believe it went to city council for recommendation. Leonie would.
It was approved, and there was litigation filed based on the California Environmental Quality Act. During the discussion with them, it was mostly the hotel that was the problem, and they wanted an environmental impact report instead of the mitigated negative declaration. We advised the applicant agreed to terminate that project and think about the project a little bit more, and now we're here tonight with this project.
So is this Starbucks substantially different than the one that was approved, or is it pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, the site design on the previous approval was a little bit different, the orientation of the building and such. There was also the adjacent parcel. It was like a city lease parcel that is not part of this proposal. But at this time, it's within the same sort of scope.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Perez?
Yeah, in terms of the leftover parcels, do we anticipate anything else coming to the commission or any changes to those type of parcels?
With the creation of the additional parcels, those at any time the applicant decides to come forward, those would be subject to the underlying industrial zone. And so any development standards of the industrial zone will apply unless there is a component or a proposed use that requires a conditional use permit or a change in the parcel layout. But other than that, it could be the rest of the projects are by right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if the applicant is here to make a presentation.
No presentation, but the applicant is here.
Okay. Does any member of the Planning Commission have any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. I don't think we have any questions.
No, I'm fine. I just need to answer any questions you may want to know.
No, I mean, I don't believe we have any questions.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to ask the Planning Commission Secretary to call forward any comments from members of the public. I would ask that speakers line up in the center aisle and approach the podium in the order that their names are displayed.
We have no speakers.
That makes it easy. I'm going to close the public hearing unless anyone has any further questions and any discussion.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any comments? Can we vote?
Seven yes votes, the motion carries.
Congratulations, sir. Next, we have the presentation on the tobacco ordinance.
Great, thank you, Chair Walker. I'll wait till we change out the folks joining me this evening. Yeah, I'll just go through. So good evening, Chair Walker and Planning Commission. Joining me and Deputy City Attorney Malva Hill this evening are Sergeant Cooper and Veronica Imami with the Anaheim Police Department, and Sunny Nguyen, also Deputy City Attorney. We've worked collaboratively to develop the requirements and procedures for the tobacco retail permit and regulations for the retail sales of tobacco. So this may also feel like deja vu, as this came before you in November of last year. And although the commission did recommend approval, we kind of took the comments that the commission made at that time and have incorporated those into a revised ordinance, which we felt we should bring back for your consideration and recommendation this evening. So as a bit of a refresher, this item establishes an annual regulatory permit, which addresses the sale of tobacco, nicotine-related retailers, which would include vape shops and other similar uses. Regulatory requirements include the creation of separation requirements for new tobacco retailers of 500 feet and sensitive uses at 1,000 feet, so schools and similar uses. This would require any existing business to come to compliance at the later of January 1st, 2026, or their next annual business license renewal. So with that, I wanted to highlight several of the changes from the prior draft. Importantly, we removed the requirements that were pertaining to smoking lounges. As you'll recall, smoking lounges are already regulated by a regulatory permit or a conditional use permit or both. We also removed the inclusion of businesses that sell tobacco, but it's ancillary, so less than 15% of the total floor area or visible inventory, so your 7-Elevens, your convenience stores that are selling tobacco as an ancillary use. And we also looked at the hours of operation. So you may recall the prior ordinance required that tobacco and tobacco paraphernalia not be sold between the hours of 12 midnight and 6 a.m. In working through the revised regulations, if we were not going to allow the primary purpose of the business to occur, it seemed prudent to actually require the business to close between those hours so we wouldn't have additional unintended consequences. So with that, I'll turn it over to colleagues from police to walk through the rationale from the illegal activity standpoint of the ordinance.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to make this thing work. So basically, this is along all the major corridors, we're trying to impact the quality of life on the community. All 78 smoke shops citywide will be required to obtain the tobacco and retail permit. And you can see those are the locations throughout the city. Next. And what we found is the businesses that are not being run to our standards create a lot of quality of life issues And you can see that these are citizen and officer-initiated calls for service, and you can see how they overlay with the smoke shops. And then our biggest thing to relay is certainly not all smoke shops engage in illegal activity. We do have a lot of smoke shops in the city that thrive and do a great job. This is really to just give us some tools to deal with the ones that do not. And then just 2024, there was 1,254 police calls for services at smoke shops, and that's an average of 52 calls a day. So as you can tell, this will give us the tool to be able to make sure that these smoke shops are operating in a manner that's conducive for our communities.
Thank you, Sergeant Cooper. So as with these revisions, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommends City Council approval. That would allow us to create the tobacco retail permit and amend the zoning code. So we can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. I was going to ask for questions, but they're already bouncing up. Commissioner Kelly?
Did I hear you right? There's 52 calls a day related to the smoke shops? That's insane.
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Let's say hypothetically we approve this, and let's say a smoke shop does not update their permitting. What is then the next process that would occur from the city side?
So they need to get a permit. If you don't have a permit, you can engage in tobacco retailing. The ordinance includes penalties for those retailers that do so without a permit. The other consequence of not applying for a permit is if you are one of those businesses that right now wouldn't comply with the citing regulations, that's the within 1,000 feet of a sensitive area and 500 feet of another retailer. If they let their permit lapse, they would no longer be able to be considered grandfathered in, and they may not be allowed to reopen if they're within either of those two prohibited areas.
Okay, to continue with that, if hypothetically one, let's say somebody was running just, a smoke shop that is dealing in nefarious practices, and that shop closes and they're attempting to open up another one in a completely different business name or anticipation. And I say that when we were dealing with the Beach Boulevard issue, it seemed that was kind of a happenstance practice. Is there any way that the measures we approve today would also kind of address that?
Yes, our point is to have operators that comply with all of our ordinances and not simply allowed repeated offenders type people who have shown that they can't comply with our business practices to just reopen under another name. There is certainly an ability to sell a business, but it needs to be, as we've defined in the ordinance, an arm's length transition to avoid that sort of shell movement where we just have a bad operator moving around. We think we've got not only some increased penalties, which would preclude them from even opening potentially, to not having to issue a permit should we have continued violations.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Abdul Rahman?
Yes, I guess my question here, the 15% of the area of the floor, how you quantify that? Because the store could be packed and also could be stacked higher.
So I'll start. So the requirements are either floor area or inventory. So that would account for having stacked merchandise and really would give the option for the police when they walk into the space to kind of be able to tell, right, visually if it's 15% around or up.
Okay, yes. But yeah, just kind of like approximate, like 15%. But you cannot really quantify that exactly. It's a 15% or 10%. But anyhow, yes, I understand what you're talking about is based on the stock, 15%, or the floor area. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I had one question. The ordinance, say a retailer who's conducting illegal activity that complies with the ordinance as far as getting the licensing and all of that, how does the ordinance help you stop that illegal activity? Now, I do see the provision that allows you to come in anytime. That's a big one, I understand. Is there anything else that you can highlight that helps essentially stop it?
I think what it does is it protects us from the criminal activity taking place in the first place, because we do put the businesses on notice, like, this is what we expect from you. And that's one of the biggest things. So if they're going to commit crime, they're going to commit crime regardless of the ordinance, if they have an ordinance or not, and that's something that we're going to have to address. So for those particular businesses that are committing the felony activities, that's something we're going to deal with. But I think there's a lot of businesses that just don't know what our expectations are. And I think by putting this forward, you're going to curb a lot of that behavior from the forefront.
Thank you, well said. Anybody else have any other questions? I'm going to open the public hearing and ask that the secretary call for any members of the public that might have comments. And I'll ask them to line up in the center aisle and approach the podium in the order their names are displayed. I'm assuming there's nobody.
There are no speakers.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing. Any other questions for staff? Open discussion. I'll close the public hearing and, sorry.
Motion?
I don't have any questions. I'm following you. I just wanted to be, after you close the public hearing.
Okay, go ahead and
Good.
call you.
I just wanted to thank staff for the way that this has been redone. It's, to me, comes across much more streamlined and accomplishes what you're trying to accomplish. And I just want to say thank you.
I would second that. Anyone wants to say any other comments or make a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Shall we vote?
Seven yes votes, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. Any updates, Scott?
I've got two, I think. We do not have any agenda items for the April 21st Planning Commission meeting, so tonight we'll be adjourning to the May 5th meeting. On April 22nd at City Council, they will be considering the general plan update that the commission previously approved. Those are the updates I have for this evening.
Any comments from any commissioners? Very good. We're adjourned.